Okay. All right, this is the public meeting of the River Edge Mayor and Council for March 19th, 2012. It's a little after 8 p.m. If you could all stand for a moment of silent prayer or reflection. If Councilman Bartoloni could lead us in a salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. All right, can we have a roll call?
Councilman Murphy?
Here.
Councilman Ford?
Here.
Councilman Porto? Councilman Zanoni?
Here.
Councilman Bartoloni?
Here.
Councilman Papaleo?
Here.
And Mayor Mastromola?
Here. All right, I'd like a motion to approve the minutes of the Mayor and Council work session and regular meeting of March 5th, 2012.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? All right, proclamations and awards. There are two proclamations on. There's a proclamation declaring the month of April 2012 as National Autism Awareness Month. And then we also have a proclamation for Women's History Month. Is there someone to accept the proclamation for autism awareness? All right. Can you come up? Excuse me.
Can I hold it?
Can we have your name for the record, please?
Jack.
And Kathy DeSanino?
And Liz Davis.
Okay. Whereas autism is a pervasive developmental disorder affecting social learning and behavioral skills of all those affected by it, and whereas more health professionals become proficient in diagnosing autism and more children are being diagnosed on the autistic spectrum, resulting in rates as high as 1 in 100 children nationally and 1 in 94 in New Jersey, and whereas while there is no cure for autism now, it is well documented that if an individual with autism receives treatment early in their lives, it often is possible for those individuals to lead significantly improved lives. And whereas individuals with autism often require a lifetime of specialized and community support services to ensure their health and safety and support family residents and manage their psychological and financial burdens autism presents. And whereas Autism New Jersey is spearheading an awareness effort in order to educate parents, professionals, and the general public about autism and its effects. Now, therefore, I, Sandy Mascarotola, Mayor of River Edge, do hereby proclaim April 2012 as National Autism Awareness Month. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Can I keep it?
You can keep it. And this is information for everybody on council.
Thank you. I'll give it to Denise. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Put this in everybody's lap. If there's someone to accept the Women's History Month proclamation. Hi. Who do you represent?
Ellen Busteed, I represent the League of Women Voters.
All right. Whereas American women of every race, class, ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways, And whereas American women have played and continue to play a critical economic, cultural, and social role in every sphere of the life of the nation by constituting a significant portion of the labor force working inside and outside the home. And whereas American women have played a unique role throughout the history of the nation by providing a majority of the volunteer labor force of the nation, and whereas American women were particularly important in the establishment of early charitable, philanthropic, and cultural institutions, and whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background have served as early leaders in the forefront of every major progressive social change movement, and whereas American women have been leaders not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolitionist movement, the emancipation movement, the industrial labor movement, the civil rights movement, and other movements, especially the peace movement, which create a more fair and just society for all. And whereas despite these contributions, the role of American women in history has been consistently overlooked and undervalued in literature, teaching, and the study of American history. Now therefore be resolved that I, Sandy Muscarito, Mayor of the Borough of River Edge, in recognition to hereby proclaim the month of March 2012 as Women's History Month. And I just want to let you know that we did the proclamation at the last council meeting, but you unfortunately weren't here to accept it, so we're doing it for you now.
Thank you. And the League thanks you also.
All right. We have some appointments and personnel changes. We have the approval of the appointment of Scott Fletcher, 152 Monroe Avenue, to the Zoning Board of Adjustment to fill the unexpired term of Robert Tennyson, effective to December 31st, 2012. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? All right, we have a motion to, do we have a motion to approve the appointment of Matt Clementi, 17 River Edge Road, to the Zoning Board of Adjustment as alternate 2 to finish the unexpired term of Scott Fletcher to 12/31/12.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Can I have a motion to approve the resignation of Della Carroll from the Beautification Committee effective immediately?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Can I have a motion to approve the resignation of Ann and Evaristo Ramos from the Beautification Committee effective immediately?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? And finally, a motion to change the council liaison of the Beautification Committee from Councilman Bartoloni to Councilman Courts, and the Green Team from Councilman Bartoloni to Councilman Mignon.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, any opposed, any abstained? All right, we have various correspondence that's available at the clerk's office should you care to review it. Correspondence has been left in the mailboxes of all of the council people. Liaison reports. Do we have any liaison reports beginning with Councilman Murphy?
I'm still a councilwoman. I haven't changed yet.
Councilwoman Murphy.
Thank you. Women's history. Woohoo! Let's see. I met with the Shade Tree last week, and I was here at the planning board meeting, and it seems that the recommendations that they made for the property development on Kinderkmack, they're happy that they're going to take that into their recommendations into account. I have something here from our 4th of July, if you want to pass that around. I have one for everybody. It's going out. We'll probably be meeting again in 2 weeks, I believe. Do you know the exact date?
About Thursday.
to continue with preparation for the 4th of July. And that's it.
Anything on the library?
This Thursday.
The library. Oh, yes, we will be having, Senator Gordon will be there this Thursday at 7 o'clock, and he's going to be meeting with Neighbors Helping Neighbors. They're also having a historical and virtual tour, which will also be Wednesday the 21st, 1 to 2 at the library, and I have that for everybody to read as well.
All right, thank you. Councilman Quartz?
No reports.
Councilman Mignon?
Planning Board met last week. We had our second hearing on the now Atkins application on Kinder-Camac. The meeting was, like I said before, it was came to an abrupt ending because we ran out of tape to record the proceedings. But the applicant had finished his testimony. We had opened it to public comment. The application continued to the next meeting on April 5th, where I believe the attorney will make his closing argument, and then the board will entertain a vote on that application. Police Department, speaking with Chief Caridi, says our new officers' training is progressing well, and he hopes to have them fully integrated into the schedule sometime in April or early May. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Bartoloni?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be meeting with Bobby Conway tomorrow afternoon to go over what's going on in rec, so I can get up to date on that. She gave me a bunch of materials in terms of their meetings, their minutes for January and February, so I can try and get caught up. So I'll be sitting down with her. And just real quick, in terms of, the change in liaisonship from why I'd be leaving beautification, just taking on rec, kind of full plate with both schools and with rec and seniors. And it also makes kind of sense to have Councilman Mignon be Green Team, as he has Environmental Commission, and the same with Councilman Quartz to have beautification, as he has DPW, and those groups do work together. So it kind of puts like with like, and so that just made sense. So just to explain that.
All right, thank you. Councilman Papaleo?
The fire department continues to meet 3 times a month for training, and they continue to maintain all fire equipment on Sunday. The River Edge Alliance Against Drug and Alcohol Abuse Committee is forming up. The new head, the chairperson, has met with Alan and with former chairpersons, as well as is reaching out to their committee members. The chairperson is looking to get someone on the committee, a senior, perhaps someone in SCORE, because there are grants available for seniors who may be suffering from issues of prescription drug or painkiller addiction, and there are all sorts of grants involved there, and so that's being explored. No report for the other liaisons.
All right.
I have one other report. I'm 90% done with the technology committees, trying to get the borough's information regarding their computer systems. So I have just the ambulance and the OEM to submit their reports.
Okay, very good. All right, there are also, in addition to the liaison reports that you just heard, there are monthly reports that are on file with the clerk's office for the beautification committee, the zoning board of adjustment, the tax collector, the planning board, and the zoning board of adjustment for February and January. We have one ordinance on tonight's agenda. It's an ordinance on for a first reading, which means that after a vote is taken, and if it's adopted, then it'll be advertised in the newspaper, and then it will be listed for a public meeting, at a chance when the public will get a chance to comment on the ordinance. If Denise, if you could read the title of the ordinance.
Sure. Ordinance 1760, bond ordinance to amend section 4.c of bond ordinance 1656 entitled Bond ordinance to authorize the making of various public improvements in the acquisition of new additional or replacement equipment and machinery, new communication and signal systems equipment, new information technology equipment, and new automotive vehicles, including original apparatus and equipment not by the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $1,611,000 to pay the cost thereof, to make additional payments, to authorize issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to devise the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds.
All right, now, in short, that's our capital ordinance, our annual capital ordinance, right?
Mayor, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is an ordinance to amend Bond Ordinance 1656, a
Right.
prior ordinance,
Right.
which had the Hackensack Avenue project in it. The
Okay.
mayor and council, in consultation with the Citizens Budget Committee,
Right.
indicated that if there were any excess funds in that ordinance, that we should amend the scope of authorization to include the generator for the public safety building. So upon adoption, this will probably give us adequate funds to address the public safety building generator issue.
Oh, okay, all right, very good. All right, do I have a motion to adopt this ordinance on first reading?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, roll call, Denise?
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Ford?
Yes.
Councilman Nolan?
Yes.
Councilman Bartoloni?
Yes.
Councilman Papaleo?
Yes.
All right, thank you. The ordinance will be advertised, and it'll be put on the agenda for a public hearing. All right, we have resolutions by consent. Is there any council person who wishes to pull out a resolution on the consent agenda for separate discussion and vote, and/or vote? All right. Can I have a motion to adopt the resolutions by consent from Resolution 12-119 up to and including Resolution, Councilman Porco is not here, up to and including Resolution 12-129.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any abstained? Any opposed? All right. Alan, do you think we should hear from Mr. Anzavino, or should we open the meeting to the public?
Payment of the bills, ma'am.
Yeah, we included the payment of the bill.
Okay, you don't want to read?
We didn't read. I didn't read it because usually Johnny reads it.
Okay.
You want to do it?
No, it's fine.
All right.
Mayor, I think we should go back into work session and hear Mr. Anzavino's report on the reassessment with the proviso that the work session then be opened up to the public for their comment if we're not going to be able to take comments at this time. You could ask for any, a public hearing at this point would be appropriate for anything other than the reassessment. Close it to the public hearing portion and then go hear the report and then open it in work session for any questions on the reassessment.
We'll have to ask Sam, because I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's necessary to do the public hearing for the issue of the tax assessment in a work session. It can be done during the public.
I think that's correct.
It's fine.
But we can certainly go into work session so that we can hear Mr. Anzavino, so that the public can hear Mr. Anzavino, so that we can ask questions of Mr. Anzavino regarding the reassessment, and we can close the work session, and we can open up the public portion of the meeting for the public.
That's fine.
So, Mr. Anzavino, if you want to come forward.
Going back to work?
Yeah, can I have a motion to go back into the work session, to close the public meeting and open up the public? Would any member of the public like to speak on this issue? I saw a hand go up over here, the first hand. Sir.
Good evening. My name is James Teen, 179 Howland Avenue, River Edge. My biggest question is, coming down to the assessment meeting, with the income meeting, I asked about the type of assessment that was being done. And what I was told by the gentleman was that River Edge got the value package. Because my biggest issue is that they came into my home, checked every room, upstairs, downstairs, basement. I have a 3-bedroom colonial with 1.5 baths. I have area homes that are bigger property, bigger homes, more baths, modern eating kitchen where I haven't updated my kitchen, things like that. I just have an issue with fairness. I know, I've talked to friends that have homes that were assessed that they didn't allow assessor rent. They weren't home, they didn't even know anybody knocked on their door. Can you explain that?
Sure. What happened was, as the council is aware of, this was a reassessment. A reassessment we were able to do with a very short approval time. I think we got the approval in October. So by the time, I think right, Alan, was around September, October. So by the time the contract went to the state and everybody got into the field, a reevaluation mandates 3 inspections. Upon the 3rd inspection, then they make an estimate. I guarantee if they don't get in, they estimate high. A reassessment doesn't have that parameter. The reassessment says, okay, we feel we've done all the improvements, the added assessments and the new constructions, or all building permits we're caught up on. They're going to double check all the building permits. Not only that year, but also from the prior years. They're going to check all the appeals. Anybody that had an appeal, they wanted to make an interior inspection. And then after that, they would come up with a value. But to do a reevaluation, the first step is, obviously the council approves it. The second step is you send the maps to Trenton. Right now there's a 2-year backlog on getting the maps approved. So that's why we opted for a reassessment. Did you check your card when you were there with the gentleman?
No. Oh, yes, I did.
Was everything correct?
It was accurate, yes.
Okay. So I'm going to say, just because they're pretty reputable, they're a very reputable company, I'm going to say 95% of my dealings with them were accurate. I can't say here, I'm just going by other experiences in other towns.
Yeah, but the gentleman did raise a point which some people spoke to me about, some residents spoke to me about, which is that the reassessment company went into certain people's homes and did inspections, but for the most part didn't go into most homes because it was just they took outside measurements as you described to us.
Right.
So the question, the issue I had is the people that opened up their homes to the appraisal company may believe that because they got penalized for opening up their homes, they got a higher tax, they got a higher reassessment.
No, first of all, no. If they got the accurate assessment. If somebody didn't get into the home and they were refused, I guarantee you that's going to be a higher value because the appraiser has to estimate what's in there. If you don't let me into your home, I'm going to assume you got a modern bathroom, modern kitchen, finished basement with heat, maybe 2 bathrooms, maybe 1 master bathroom that's modern, obviously depending on the size of the home. So what they did was they went around the homes, for the majority of the home, well, they went around every home, measured. If they didn't get in, they used the same bathrooms, kitchen structure that was on the old property record cards.
All right, thank you.
But along with that, now I have a specific home. I'm not going to throw my neighbor under the bus, obviously, but I have a specific home, that I can think of in my neighborhood on the same street on Howland Avenue that renovated after mine. I did my renovation in 2004, so I was assessed after that.
You were assessed in the revamp?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
Actually, they came to my house for the CO.
Okay.
And then a couple months later, they came and did the revamp.
Okay, because the person who came for the CO wasn't the assessor.
Okay.
That was the building department. Yeah,
okay,
just so you
that's fine.
yeah.
But it was done prior to the last.
Sure.
My, house that I'm speaking of, they did their addition after mine. I have what I consider a postage stamp property. They have a bigger piece of property, a larger home, a couple 100 square feet, based upon the numbers that was publicized through the website. Nicer amenities, 1 more full bath. On the whole, a nicer house. They went down. They were already lower and went down even more. And so those numbers, and somebody didn't go into that house. So that just makes me feel that it wasn't fair.
Okay,
across the board.
You have to give me an example. I can't give you an answer unless I know.
And I have no problem doing that.
Obviously, but I don't want you to do it in a public meeting. Come in and see me and we'll see it. Maybe your neighbor...
on the patch tomorrow, but...
We'll review all those. Now, remember...
You better get a bigger fence.
You can't compare assessments. 2 things you can't do in a tax appeal hearing, and I'm not trying to...
No, I understand.
You can't talk about your taxes, because you're not appealing your taxes, you're appealing your assessment. Second thing is, you can't say, yeah, but my neighbor's home is bigger, therefore I need a reduction. Just to kind of...
Right.
But, yeah, we'll go through...
I understand that.
We'll go through one-on-one.
But if you're comparing construction, time,
We'll go
everything
through
like that-
one-on-one, and I'll give you an answer. That I can guarantee you.
I understand that. That's totally fine. That's pretty much all I have. The other thing that, and I appreciate it, I sent an email the day of my informal meeting, and I do appreciate, I got immediate calls back, and I spoke with Councilman Bartoloni, Murphy, and also Mr. Porco. And I appreciated them. They got back to me right away, and we had real, nice conversations and correspondence with that. My biggest problem that I had that day is that there was nobody present from the borough for these meetings. So when I asked the gentleman about, I live on Howland Avenue, what's the assessment rate of my house compared to somebody who might be over on Oak or something like that, and the gentleman's like, listen, I don't know River Edge, I'm not from River Edge, I really don't know, I couldn't answer those questions. I had a problem with that. I really think that somebody from the borough should have been present for all those meetings. I know, you're mostly volunteers, not a full-time employee, but
Well,
somebody
sir,
should have been there.
yeah, the state doesn't allow you to do that. What happens is it's an independent appraisal company
Okay.
that's authorized and contracted by this town through the state standards that says it has to be an independent evaluation. The fear is that if somebody from the borough was there, it may somehow taint the values. We reviewed all the numbers before they went out,
Right.
so the hearing officer is there just to determine what the value of your property is.
Okay.
I know that sounds a little rough.
Right. No, I understand what you're
But
saying,
when it
but
all comes out, then everybody will
you
know
didn't know
the
the difference of
values.
Howland Avenue and Oak. Big difference. I mean, the road warrior told everybody, avoid Route 4 and drive down Howland Avenue. That changed the value of my house, in my opinion.
Sure.
It's a busy road. My kids can't play out in front of our home. That's my point. Thank you
Thank
for your
you.
time. Appreciate it.
Yes. Yeah, come on up.
You want me to sit here, or you want me to sit there?
I have a couple of questions. Michael Gord, 182 Oak. So I have one of the houses that got reassessed up, and I understand the process as you explained it, and actually you did a very good job, because those were all the kind of pointers I was looking at. It sounded like the empty land went down by 0.1%, I think. Does that sound right? And then when I looked at the reassessment for my land, it was about 25% difference. So to me, since I have one of the larger homes in town, for whatever that's worth, compared to somebody who's on the same size property with a smaller home, our land values really did not, there's a big difference there because the land value is taken as such a smaller part of the overall assessment as, in the past, as you explained, and then the building value is really what's driving the assessment. So, basically my change probably subsidizes about 10 other homes that either went down or stayed equally, and that just doesn't seem fair. I don't know if that's a good word to use.
No,
but-
hey, when your taxes go up, it's a fair word to use.
Yeah.
What it comes down to is your total market value.
Right, but if I could just say it, so my land going down by 100,000, along with everybody else's who's got basically the same lot size, right? Sounds
Well,
reasonable?
different neighborhoods went down different, but yeah,
I mean,
Sure.
let's say it's 20 to 25% decrease in land value versus overall, right? So if you look at a house that's, $400,000 versus $700,000, that 25% will affect the smaller houses more, meaning that
No.
their value will go down more.
No, if their
than
land
mine.
value, no, because all of you weren't assessed with the same land value.
But let's assume
you
the same,
use your
the same
property
property. No, I mean, I have a standard size property. right?
Let's get one thing very clear. It's not your land value, it's your total value. What did you buy for your house? Well, I'm not sure, whatever your total assessment was,
Mhm.
that's where we came into it. If a house that's on a smaller lot, or the same size lot in an older home, went down in value, there's a reason. The sales dictated that was the lower value.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is that it sounds like the property value should really have, be more of a part of the overall assessment. Because if you're telling me that empty land went down by 0.1 and my land value went down by 0.25, that means that everybody's land value went down a lot more than if you just had an empty lot, right?
Okay.
And if you look at the overall picture, that means that my taxes overall went up more than those taxes, because the value is really in the land.
No, you're missing the point. The value's in the land and the building, the total
I
value.
understand the total number. I'm sorry, I'm not going to interrupt you anymore. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. That's fine. The value is the total value. So let's say we took let's say your assessment's $200,000 for land,
Mhm.
$600,000 for buildings. Let's say we switched it. $600,000 for land, $200,000 for building. The state won't allow that because that doesn't support the land analysis. It doesn't support the land residual technique. You can't put it on that way. But if we could, the bottom line is your value is still $800,000.
Can you explain the 0.1 versus, 20 to 25% change?
Point one was just the overall aggregate change of the vacant land.
Right, so what's the aggregate
Some
change
changes,
in the land values for
I don't have that
the
total.
non-vacant?
Honestly,
Because it sounds like there's a big discrepancy.
well, I know it's less. I haven't, in order to do that, I gotta add up each property compared to the old, we don't keep just a separate, we keep a land value for every building. To come up with that, you gotta add up all 3,000 properties for land from the old one compared to the new one.
So it's basically, so my house, if I knock it down, that's just for an example, okay? I knock it down, my value, the value of my land is $200,000, I think, or roughly in that area. Sounds reasonable, right? With the house there, it's about 6 times that much. Now, is it really the assessor's role to say who's got a nicer bathroom or a kitchen or whatever, or is it really, the number of bathrooms, bedrooms, coverage?
Well, bedrooms are not accessible.
Yeah.
Bathrooms are accessible. Now, there's 3 qualities of bathrooms. So they're old or original, they're average condition, and they're modern.
So to that extent, can I depreciate my house every year? Do I apply for a tax appeal every year and say,
Yes, you can. You could say your value went down. However, the market has to correlate with that. In other words, let's say your assessment's $100,000, and let's say the value of your home is $100,000. The second year, you're going to say the depreciation of a bathroom, which has about $2,000, $3,000 once it's included. You could say, okay, my bathroom's a year older, my kitchen's a year older, everything's a year older. So my value of my improvement now is, my value of my property is now $95,000, land and building. And if you say you want to get a reduction down to $95,000, you have to make sure that the market produces that. Says that this is what's based on the sales. Remember one thing, land, building, land, however you slice it, the total value is the thing that matters. It doesn't matter how you come, I shouldn't say it doesn't matter. It's a formula to come up with that. That's what caused the increases, because the homes were assessed too low. Had the old reassessment came in, how can I say it? Had the old reevaluation had a little bit more balance for that it could trust the market, then it'll be good. Now, let's work in the converse now. The new homes aren't worth what they are. They have a decline in value. They still have the right for an appeal, or whenever the time comes, which took about 5 years to get to this point, the borough can opt to do another reassessment. During that point, you may see a reduction because the market value, not the size of the land, not the size of the building, the market value doesn't support it.
It just seems that, at least on this assessment, the current assessment, the land value is less than it should be. So if you're saying we should be at 0.9 of our market value, I don't think I could go out there and buy, a piece of land my size for 200 plus 10%, so $220,000.
What we're saying is the value of the total property. Until you get into specifics about land, you don't know till it's sold. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. The total value of your property is what the assessment's based on. Just like theirs, and mine, and my town. It's not, has nothing to do with all off my land. Now, let me give you an example. Let's say I said, you're right. We're going to raise your land $300,000. And we're going to take $300,000 off your building. The
Or
total,
just add it to the total.
the total value is the total value.
Right. So maybe I'm just not explaining it properly.
I know what
But
you're saying. I feel bad I'm not giving you the...
My value right now is, let's say, 200 for the land, 500 for the house.
700.
Somebody else is maybe 200 for the land and 100 for the house. Okay? Let's say that we go up by 50,000 on both.
Sure.
Okay? It's going to affect that person more than it would affect me percentage-wise, correct?
Well, that goes along without saying, because every time the tax rate goes up, since your house is double their value, if they have a $100 deduction...
But it wouldn't be double because you're just changing the land.
No, it will be double, because of the way the scenario you used it, your value would always be a little bit more than double theirs.
I just think that
Mr.
with
Bourne?
I'm sorry.
We have a lot of people in the audience that want their opportunity.
I just want to make a point that I think with this new type of assessment that they did, the land value does play into it if you do the math. And because they don't take it as much into the consideration in the assessment, I think there's an unfair balance to
Mayor,
the higher tax.
would it be easier if I just brought everybody downstairs and I met with them one-on-one? No?
I think they want us to hear it, to hear what they're saying. Well, let's have the man in the back, please, and then you.
the front and face up when you talk. I think it would be nicer instead of looking at your back.
I'll stay out
Yeah, no, but like over there with the microphone, you can see me.
You can sit at the side table, Jim. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Wilbur Pays. I'm on 238 Vanson Drive.
Right.
And, my taxes, like some of the folks here, went through the roof. You mentioned a couple of people that were above $1,000 had mine was substantially more than that. My problem is this. You said average residential values earlier went down 13.5%. The tax rate has gone up 13.5%, or 13.6 to be exact. It almost is an offset. So anybody that thinks that their assessed values have gone down is fool's gold. It's fool's gold because your assessed values are entirely offset by the increase in tax rate. In 2010 to 2011, your tax rates went from 2010 to 11, your tax rates went up 4.1%. From 2011 to
That's precisely what it's intended to do. It's not, the total tax levy remains the same on a reassessment. It doesn't change, just so you understand that.
So then what's the point in reassessing? Meaning if the bottom line for every resident, and everybody has said in this meeting, it's the bottom line taxes. So this person does not care whether your taxes is $10,000 versus you split it up between the offset in rate versus the offset in assessed value. The bottom line is I'm paying $10,000 or whatever the number is in taxes. So if you're going to offset the increase in or decrease in assessed value by an increase in tax rate, there's no benefit for any resident.
Well,
no, actually, there is a
you're correct.
direct benefit.
You're correct to the extent that if the town requires a certain amount of money to run, and we have to raise that money by property taxes, and that if we have a problem with too many tax appeals and the values are not correct, and there was a vote taken to do a reassessment, the following year after the reassessment, we still have to raise the same amount of money that we raised the year before and any increase to run the town. So the tax, even though your assessment may have changed, it may have gone lower or it may have gone higher, the rate of the tax rate, how much money we have to raise, remains the same. So the tax rate will change always.
Okay, so basically then what you've done is you've shifted from 90% of the population whose tax assessed values have gone down, and you're picking up that same offset for some of the people that's assessed values have gone up. That's one way to look at it, and that's really the shift in thing. And real estate is predicated on replacement cost. So today...
The corollary to that would be that the smaller houses were subsidizing the larger houses under the old system. So that's the corollary argument, that people with smaller homes were paying an increased amount of taxes for the people with the larger homes.
But let me give you another call.
Well, I'm just saying that's the corollary to your argument.
You can sit here and you can say that.
Well, it's true.
The reality is this. The reality is you've now gone and done a market value approach and priced in these houses the bigger houses at a certain level, right?
Yes.
No. The value is, the truth, the value is 100% of market value for all properties.
I agree.
So, if somebody was assessed at 70% and the revaluation comes in, and I'm throwing out numbers, they're going to go up to 100%.
Right.
If somebody was assessed at 130%, they're going to come down. So, I mean, there's nothing good I could say, guys. But the true value, when you said replacement cost, that's not true. That's replacement cost is the way the state of New Jersey calculates the manual for repricing homes. Then they have to add on the land value to come up with the market value.
Okay, so what I'm saying is if I go and buy a piece of property today and I reconstruct a brand new building, I know that the construction cost plus the land value is not equal to my assessed value. That's my point. My point is, listen, I work in real estate, so I'm not talking out of the sky. When I say replacement cost, I mean replacement cost because I could choose. The alternative use of my house is I could go and buy a piece of property and reconstruct that. And that's not going to be equal to the property value that I just have been assessed. And therein lies a problem.
Well, can you sell your house? Is your house worth, as of October 1st, the value that was put on the rolls?
I don't know, because the reality
Okay, now here's the next part. When somebody builds a house to sell, I don't know anybody that builds to sell at an even cost. They buy the property, they build the house, they sell for profit. So you have to add in the profit for the builder. If you look at the homes that we have priced out here, you'll see that that's total value is all included.
But here's my problem. My problem is also this. At a certain price point, the property is attractive to X number of buyers.
Sure.
You have raised by increasing the assessed values, the opportunity cost for the taxes now changes the pool. The buyer pool has changed, so effectively I've been wiped out on all of the equity in my house by this very move. Because now, if I had 100 prospective buyers, that's down to 50 because 50 of them can't afford the increase between the mortgage and the taxes. That's fact.
But could they afford the value anyway? Wouldn't it be more that, and I'm not trying to argue with you, I think we're talking theories.
There's a lot of people that would like to speak. Mr. Anzavino will be around for you to or you can make an appointment with him for an individual discussion of your particular property, but I have to let the rest of the public give him an opportunity. There's a gentleman over here who had his hand up for a while. And then the woman in the back row. You're next.
Yeah, hi guys, I was here, Ray Frost on Lozier Terrace. I was here a couple weeks ago. My issue is somewhere someone's incompetent, blatantly incompetent, and I need to figure out who. Because I don't want to just blame people for not blaming them. To be very clear, I'm more than happy to pay my fair share of taxes, but as I told you last time, I bought my home October 26th of 2008. You or someone else assessed it then.
Right.
And that was after the crash. Now, it kept on crashing. That was after the big crash.
Right.
Big crash was the summer of 08. Okay? Let's be clear about timelines. Crash was summer of 08. I bought October 26th. You assessed it.
Me, yeah.
Okay?
If you want to blame somebody, I'm stop you. Blame
No. I don't want to blame. I want to be clear. No, let me finish.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Because this is my time. I want to be very clear. I want the council to go back to the county and say, you don't want this. Because basically, I was lied to. Because I bought my house, got my assessment, told my assessment at the time, taxes were $10,000. Assessor came out, said we're going to raise it, because this is the new assessment, it's going to be about $12,000. Okay. Full disclosure, that's transparent. I made a transaction based upon open, transparent taxes. They went up, it's about 14 now. It's fine, no problem, tax rate goes up, cost of doing business goes up. Under this assessment that I knew nothing about, they're going to go to 19, as we discussed last time. I had no idea of that, no clue. If I had known this town was going to do that, and that the implication might be. So let's be very clear what's happening here. Anyone who bought a new construction in 2008, anyone who new construction, are going to get killed in this. Killed. And it has nothing to do with fair share. And Councilman over here, Bartoloni, you're probably 100% right. The smaller homes, I'm not going to argue that, might have been subsidizing the larger homes. I'm not arguing that. I'm arguing about transparency. I'm arguing about knowing what was going to happen. This town basically lied to me. because I can't afford that house now. I couldn't afford it in 2008 if you told me that this was going to happen. So basically what's happening is my assessment has gone through the roof, my taxes have gone through the roof, but I can't sell it for what I bought it for in October of 2006, or excuse me, 2008, when you assessed it. You assessed it. I didn't assess it. I didn't come up with that number. You did. And now you're telling me I owe, it's almost like going to buy a car at a car dealership for $30,000, the sticker price. We agree on a price, $30,000 bucks. I'm going to take the car. 2 years later, you come back to me and go, by the way, we were kind of wrong. We didn't value that car like we thought we should have. It's actually 50 now. You owe me another 20. Because that's basically what you're telling me. Now that's wrong. That's out and out wrong. And I will tell you this. You'll have your first tax appeal will be made if the council doesn't go to the county and say this is wrong. And let's be clear about something else. I talked to you about this last time. Now I have the pleasure of being a college graduate and majoring in economics and political science. Political science is useless, but the economics is pretty good. I've met a lot of people in this town. I've only lived in this town 3 years, for full disclosure. I've met a lot of people in this town over my time who were born in this town, raised in this town, and still live in this town. A ton of people. I've been surprised.
Like 70%.
I've been surprised how many people have never gone out of River Edge. It's amazing. I look at those people and ask them one question. Can their kids live in this town in 20 years?
No.
The answer is absolutely not. And the reason is the taxes. Because people are telling me that some of their houses are paid off, but they have a mortgage on their taxes. You are not making decisions on today. You are making decisions on next year, the year after, and 10 years from now. You're setting a stage of 10 years to 15 years from now. It's a path forward. And you can sit up there and say, this guy's nuts. I'm not nuts. You can look at it. People will not be able to live in this town. River Edge had a competitive advantage. I told you the story back when I was here 2 weeks ago. It had a competitive advantage for me because it was cheaper taxes. It made it more reasonable for me to live here. I chose it because of that. That reason. Nothing else. There's no great downtown here, let's be honest. Oradell's got nice. We don't have it. It was cheaper taxes in Oradell. I chose here. I was happy with that choice until about 3 weeks ago. You are taxing, you're killing the economic development and the future of the town.
Absolutely.
Thanks for your time. Yes.
Hi, I'm Robin Barron. I live at 569 Monroe Court. I'm not here actually on my taxes, though. In the 12 years that I've lived in that particular home, I was born and raised in this town, my taxes have doubled on just that house. There's no additional square footage. There's no additions on it, period. It is exactly as it stands when I bought it. I bought it, the taxes were $5,900, they're now $12,300. That aside, I'm also a real estate agent. I have a listing currently, 246 Valley Road. The original assessed value was $628,700. It's now $953,000. I got a letter from the attorney today on the buyer for that house. They're canceling the contract because the taxes are going to be about $29,000. Not for anything, I love River Edge. Lived here my whole life. My mother still lives in this town. My children grew up in this town, and at some point I hope that it would be an option for them to come back. And as the gentleman so eloquently pointed out, that will not be an option because nobody can afford this. You have killed the value of the homes. The market in River Edge was probably the best real estate market around. 3.035, we're now the highest tax rate in Bergen County other than Ridgefield Park. Would you like to be compared to Ridgefield Park? Okay. The taxes on this house will now be $29,000. How is it possible? The house was built, the people moved in December 2007 after the reevaluation, okay? And the taxes have gone up, the assessed value's gone up 52%. They didn't add on to it. Come on! We gotta be kidding me. Honestly, my mother lives in this town in a tiny Cape Cod down by the railroad tracks. Her taxes are going to $10,000. She's gonna have to leave. How can people on fixed incomes afford this? You have to take a clearer look at this, and you do need to go back to the county, whoever it is who came up with the tax rate, to equalize what you lost by doing this reassessment and change it, okay? Because the fact of the matter is, This house, 246 Valley Road, is never selling to anybody. Would any one of you pay $29,000 in taxes to live in River Edge?
Ma'am, can I ask you a question on this house?
Yep.
Just looking at the list, I mean, this house is 5,800 square
No,
feet.
it's not.
That's what's listed here.
That's
Size of
correct, and I
maybe
came
talk-
down and spoke with them. It is not 5,800 square feet.
How many square feet is it?
It's 5,000 square feet.
5,000 square feet.
Okay? It is not a walkout basement. It was built on the original foundation. They took none of that into consideration.
What's the asking price?
The asking price, the contract price is $880.
I can only say this, ma'am.
Pardon me?
Wait, I don't know what the tax rate should be on something like that, how much taxes you should pay on that. But that house is probably 3 times the size of the average Cape Cod in this town.
Okay, do you want that house to be vacant?
Well, can I...
Seriously, you have to think about what you're saying, and it's not alone.
Wait, hold on,
It's not alone.
wait.
Right around the corner are 3 new development houses.
Jim.
But that house is exceedingly large. I mean, I would assume a house like that...
Houses, you're right.
I
It is
mean-
one of the largest houses. But here's the other thing. There are equal-size homes being built literally around the corner. Around the corner, on a cul-de-sac, okay? They're in the process of being built. No one is going to buy a house on a 75 by 125 piece of property with taxes of $29,000. Come on. Really? Come on.
But again, this is the point. This is the point I went back to just briefly.
Al, let the assessor say something.
Thank you. Again, I'm not here to argue with everybody. I'm just hoping I could explain it. That particular house, they came to the informal hearings.
I did.
They're going to get it. It's going to be reduced.
To what?
I think it was around 829, somewhere around there. Or
Okay,
wait,
even
please.
at that.
Let me. But you can't assess something less than the value of the property. That's the problem. Now, let's say somebody comes in and they around the corner from you, they build a house on a 75 by 100. If it's worth $800,000, quite honestly, it should be assessed at $800,000. If somebody lives on the corner by the railroad tracks and their house is assessed at $300,000, you can't assess them at $400,000. They got to be assessed the same way. It is a hardship for the taxes when they're up that amount. But getting back to, what I wanted to say too is, you saw on your house. I want to talk to you a little bit after, and I want to tell you I got a PTR application for your mom for property tax relief. But one of the things that you see is if the values, according to that standard established by the last revaluation company, weren't high enough, that's how you got hit.
So then, why don't we go to a different company? If these companies
The
can
company-
pick and choose how they do this, then maybe we should have picked somebody better.
There's 8 companies in the state. Now, do you know how many companies we sent out? The certified mail, we sent them out to every company, 8 or 10. This is the only company that puts it out on the web. You're able to find out what everybody's assessment is in town. You're able to find out everybody's sales for 2010, 2009. This, in my opinion, is full disclosure. We came before the council 3 times last year to talk about the reassessment. We advertised it. We went out for bid. We got the quotes. We're putting everything out there. So just for this, we want you to have the opportunity, if you feel your assessment is wrong, is to correct
And
it.
you do have people who you realize don't have access to the internet, who don't know anything about, going to any website.
You're right.
Most of the people who got those letters, I'm going to tell you, I'm a real estate agent in this town. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, even people with computers in their homes think if their assessment went down, their taxes are going down. They're unaware of the 3.035.
Well,
They're in shock.
Yeah, but 2/3 of the taxes are going down. Now, let's understand how the tax rate's established. The tax rate's established by you take the total amount of spending in the town. Excuse me. You want me to go into this? Or?
No. Well, let's just hear from the public. Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else from the public would like to speak?
I'm about 13 houses down on Park by the tracks. My taxes on that.
Could we have your name and address, please?
Joseph Kaleka, and I own 2 properties, 834 Park Avenue on the tracks, and disheveled properties that I cleaned up. I'm prepared to redevelop, open land right now, nothing on them. Shut down completely when I was aware of the new tax rates and aware that you can't sell my houses because the taxes on the new constructions are cost prohibitive. to almost anyone in that location, based on the square footage and assessed value of a home, and there's no discretion. I'm on the tracks.
Are your properties, are they vacant, under construction?
There's nothing there.
There's nothing
I
there.
tore down the house, got a subdivision.
With the intention of putting up a new structure?
Yes, too.
And because of the, did you get your tax assessment for the land value?
No, I did, but it's lower, but...
You were going to move into one, right?
No. That's based on what was there, so...
And you worried about what the improvement taxation, what the
Yeah, well, I
tax
was told
would be
it would
on
be
the
approximately
improvement?
$19,000 per house. 19.
What were you,
2,500 square feet, 3-bedroom homes, modest, nice homes. I can reduce them, I could build caves. That's what I'm going to be forced to do. My only other option was to, ask the board to allow me to build 2 duplexes, which would give you your revenue and allow me to sell something.
You'd have to go to the zoning board for a variance, right? All right.
I've already, been in front of the board for almost a year now to get the subdivision. I have $120,000 in bonds up at the town. Got a lot of money on the table. Clock is ticking. And I'm paying my taxes.
All right. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Elaine Gibbons, and I'm at 220 Dorchester Road, River Edge, and I'm a long-time resident of River Edge. I'm a real estate agent as well, but I have to take... I have a lot of people who have come to me as well with very high taxes, and I understand the dilemma. I've talked to people and helped them try to appeal them. But I have to say that I also have... I know that the land assessment before, with properties at 75 by 100, those people were killed for the last number of years since the last assessment. I have several listings now where the older people are getting a reduction, and we're going to probably be able to sell their home. So while I really do understand the plight of the big new homes, I also do not feel that when you consider that most of the people are really assessed now properly, most of the town is really assessed where they should be at fair market value, that we should not be saying, okay, let's just overturn this. I think that we have to look at the whole picture, and while many people are complaining because of new construction, we have to think of the whole town, and I think they did a very good job, and I really looked at many of them, and I understand that I understand the people who are getting hit, but I don't think we can just say, well, let's just throw them all out. I think we really have to think about this. We think about all the other people who did get they're finally where they really should be. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. You in the back.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think we should...
Can we have your name and address, please?
I'm sorry. Tim Rican, 240. That's all right. Thanks, James.
240.
Tim Rican, 240 Madison Avenue. I just wanted to say that I think that we should probably reconsider this reassessment. Based on what I'm hearing here tonight, it sounds like the future of this town could be detrimented. I mean, you're basically discouraging people from renovating and updating their homes. I was blindsided by this. I added an addition to my house 3 years ago, 2008. I realized that, I had a small house, I was paying way too much, so I said, I should put an addition on, played by the rules, got reassessed back then. My, rate of taxes was more reasonable to the house I had, and now this is going to completely change everything, so that's all I just wanted to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, sir. And then you, ma'am. You're next.
Greg Ogden, 296 Wells Avenue. I feel a little guilty here because it's real simple. My house and my neighbor's house, both Reese Colonials, built 1942. Mine is 1,500 square feet. My neighbor's is 1,800 square feet. Mine in the 2011 assessment was $375. His was $386. So his was almost $11,000 more than mine. Today, my assessment is $353. His is $342, which means his is now $11,000 less than mine. His went down $44,000. Mine went down $22,000. Nothing's changed. Nothing changed since the last assessment. I don't know why that happened.
I'll get back to you tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ogden. Yes, ma'am.
Already it's skewered.
My name is Liz Serednicki. I'm a real estate agent in town. I live at 291 Monroe. One of the problems I'm seeing is the unintended consequence of this is that people are going to be afraid to touch their homes, to add on to it. When I added on to my home, I said, you know, I'm paying a lot in taxes, but I'm going to be incented, as the gentleman said, to add on to it. And I see a lot of new building in town where people, you know, they're in 60 by 100 lots and they've added on, and I've been looking on and I'm seeing it's not just the big new construction, you know, not in vogue McMansions are getting hit. Their taxes are going from like 14 to 19. This isn't one, it wasn't in the plan. This isn't why they moved here. And I think you really have to look at it. It's going to have a negative impact. It's not going to be a very nice place to live when people can't pay their mortgages on the big houses and they maybe go into short sales. People won't live here. I'm hearing things already. I've got great houses. Oh, they're great. We just don't know about River Edge. That's the first time I've heard that. It should be a hot town. We just don't know about River Edge as an objection. And as far as a question that Sandy brought up about the area, I know you adjusted the land value, but the structure value in the distressed area is the same. You can't, it has to get more of the I don't know what you can do, but you just, we're not going to, it's very hard to
appraisal law limits you to
yeah, does it? Well, I mean, I just think you really have to look at it, not just for new houses, it's ones that have been added onto, and people are suffering. And if your taxes are going up to $6,000 in a clip, $5,000 in a clip, I mean, this is, you know, it's just, I think it's unfair because no one had any idea, and people wouldn't have bought the homes, and they certainly wouldn't have added on to it. And all the you saved the money, the $200,000. You're going to lose the revenue stream of people getting permits and adding on and getting higher taxes. They're going to stop. They're going to move. I mean, it's going to be a starter town. That's my opinion.
Historically, that's never been the case.
Thank you, Liz.
Mr. Angelino, question.
Somebody in the back there.
Jim Lee on 728 Summit Avenue. I arrived a little bit late to the meeting, so I'm going to ask a question maybe you've answered already. But I just really need to understand how is it that 92.5% of the town market value is decreased while 7.5% of the market value is increased? And under full disclosure, I was one of the lucky ones who increased while everybody on my block went down. So, you know, I haven't done anything to my house in 16 years, and I know that because my youngest is 16 years old. I'm a 30-year resident in town, and, you know, I understand, I'm trying to learn all the arguments here, but the first question I have is, why, we're not talking about a bell curve here when 92% go in one direction and 1% or 7% go in the other.
It's, again, it all correlates back to market value. For everything that's done for your taxes are based on your assessment. Your assessment's based on the market value. So if the market value shows that your home's $100,000, that's what your assessment is. I could look further into it and get back to you. If you want to come in one day...
It just jumps off the page.
Yeah, it's not comparing your neighbors. I understand your frustration.
3,200 houses in town, and 250 of them go up in assessment. And I'm glad people are bringing out the point that with the increase in rate, I don't know exactly what the split is, but all the people who think that their assessment's going down and the taxes are actually going to go up,
Just so you have the idea, there's 1,000 properties that are going to have an increase, 2,000 that have a decrease. Now, if you give me a number...
Well, let me comment on that. I have a nice piece of property. I have a nice piece of property size, I have a nice house. We've been in it 30 years, we've done improvements, and we love our house, but we don't love the taxes. And what you are all doing to the people who are experiencing, people who have higher square footage, with the ratio changing to penalize, and that's my word, but I think it's pretty obvious, you are penalizing people who have more square footage. I know you'll come up with the argument that says we've been subsidized over this year, but listen, I've been here for 30 years, and I have paid taxes regardless of what, I trusted the council, the town, to give me my fair share. And if they didn't do it right, don't tell me I've been subsidized, because I've been paying significant taxes for 30 years. But what you're doing, my perspective on this is, you are disincenting me to improve my home and to maintain my home. And so what you're saying to me is that somebody whose market value went up and who takes care of his house, that all I'm doing is making my own life worse. And there is no incentive for me. I'll go back to the examples you used before. I'm not going to come into town and buy a house that has taxes they're penalizing on the square footage basis. And the problem is, being on the seller side of that, I'm not going to get the value that you tell me I'm supposed to get because of this. So you are basically, I know this is kind of like, politically incorrect, but this is class warfare. And you are saying that the people who have the bigger, nicer homes, maybe there's been some initiative here that because of the McMansions, something had to be done with this in order to throw the tax burden onto the people who have larger houses. But for somebody like me, who's been here for 30 years, that's not my battle. I've taken care of my property. I have done what I'm supposed to do. And when I look at the scatteration of where I live, and I see that 2 of us on the block out of 10 have gone up, and the other guy did a big improvement on his house, a tear down and a rebuild, that makes sense in the last several years. I haven't done anything. So why did my market value go up when everybody else went down? I know you can't talk about that. But you can go all the way up and down the block, and I can compare square footage all the way to the other end of town.
I don't mean to interrupt, but what is your assessment now after the reassessment? What is your new assessment?
$660.
Could it sell for $660?
I don't know.
Okay,
now that's real estate.
Folks, no, I didn't mean that.
I will tell you this, I did a refinancing a while back. Within the last 18 months, I did a refinancing, and the market value was much lower.
20% lower?
Yes.
Because that's exactly when they come in with the refinancing, always 20% lower. But, hold on one second, because I'm glad you brought that up. And
but you see what you're doing?
Wait.
Go ahead.
All the revaluation company did, and folks, don't blame the council, blame me. All I did was make sure that everybody's property is assessed at 100% based on the market value. It's not class warfare.
Well, if that's the case, now let me interrupt you. Let me interrupt you, because there is a house a few blocks away from me, larger than mine, has recently gone on the market for more than $200,000 more than what my assessment is, but their assessment on your paper has gone down by almost $75,000 from previous years. So they are $200,000 less on their assessment with a larger house than mine, and they're on the market right now for $200,000 more. $400,000 swing.
But what's the current assessment?
It's less, it's in the 400s.
Let's say they're on the market. Good point. You said they're on the market for $200,000 less than what the assessment is.
No. They are on the market for $200,000 more than or $400,000 more than their assessment.
Well, it doesn't mean they're going to get it, but we'll take a look at it. If I get the address, I'll be more than happy to look at it.
But, there's inconsistencies.
What's your name? What's your number?
All right, I'll call you.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Leon. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Leon. Anybody else? No.
want to say one last thing, and this goes back to what the
Name and
gentleman
address.
said.
Name and address, please.
569 Monroe Court. I really do believe that you need to take a look at this from the standpoint of where we go from here. Okay, honestly, because this going forward will kill the real estate market. You will not be able to sell your homes. As I told you, I got a letter today from the buyer's attorney. If the taxes remain at what they're supposed to go to, at $29,000, they are canceling the contract. No one is going to buy that house. No one.
Cindy, stand and...
Cindy bequeath 745 7th Avenue. I was born in a hospital and came straight into River Edge. Me too. So I'm just saying my parents' home on Princeton Drive at the other end of town. I'm now at this end of town. The homes, I know we've already mentioned that the homes, some of the smaller homes took care of the bigger homes for a while. You know what? In the end, nothing is perfect. Nothing is perfect. And I feel bad about the things that are happening to people when their taxes are up. I do. I mean, nobody wants that to happen. We just have to go back and not get crazy about this, and just go back and try and do this on a one-by-one basis and see if we can fix it. As far as, because for the vast majority of residents in this town, according to this, everything is okay. So, I mean, if you ever look at a large project, you want to try and make the most people satisfied as possible. You want to make it try and so that's what's happening. Let's just everybody go in one at a time and try and figure this out. How many other towns? Sorry, let me finish. So, thank you.
445 with the Southbridge.
So, River Edge has been a community that is not meant to be like, in my opinion, and I grew up here, it's not meant to be the all you want. It's a 5,000 square foot home. That's not what this community has ever been. Now the rest of this community is not going to be the 5,000 to 6,000 or whatever it is square foot home. They're going to be the smaller size homes. That's just what this community is about, yours as well. Because when these go down, likewise,
Mayor, we have cross conversations.
When the larger homes,
All right, we just can't have a conversation amongst everybody.
I'm just saying that I think that we just need to give this a chance. And that
I heard you, Cindy, words of wisdom to handle this one-on-one with Mr. Anzavino, the tax assessor, either by him speaking with you, making an appointment, or filing an appeal and working it out.
Mayor, can I say-
Yes.
Just real quick, a woman in the back brought up who else is doing this.
how many other towns have this been?
Sure, and this company that we hired presently has the following reevaluations going on: Allendale, Cresskill, Dumont, Fairlawn, Hasbrook Heights, Maywood, Ridgefield, River Edge, Woodcliff Lake, Cliffside Park, Edgewater, Fairview, Franklin Lakes, Garfield, Hackensack, Ohokis, Mahwah, Northvale, Norwood, Oakland, Park Ridge, and Ridgefield Park. That's currently what's going on in Bergen County. So we're not alone in this.
Right, how many other towns, though, had this kind of impact?
This is kind of typical.
We're the only, on the tax rate, we are the, I think, the highest tax rate.
Well, you have to give us your name and address if you want to speak, please.
Oh, my name is 293 Jefferson Avenue.
All
I'm
right.
also a real estate agent, and I've had a house decrease in the last year and a half. I had to bring it down so low in price to offset the 17.4 before the new reassessment. So I dropped that house down to $595,000 from $749,000. There was just a house recently on Eastbrook that just sold for $575,000, built in 1986, that started at $779,000. Taxes were $20,000. It just closed for $575,000 yesterday. I mean, it's going to inversely relate. If too high taxes, prices are going to go down.
Thank you. Mr. Caridi.
Greg Caridi, 193 Wayne Avenue. Last year, we had a house on our block. It was a tear down, it was a cape tear down, nice new house, I think it's 164 Wayne Avenue. So my wife and I walked down there, they had an open house, let's see what it was like. Get handed the sheet by the realtor, taxes, $11,000. And she said to me, taxes are low. I said, you don't expect them to stay like this, right? She said, that's what the taxes are. I said, I'm paying $13,300 up the block. So, if you're buying this house and you're thinking it's going to be $11,000 and you got the biggest house on the block, well, something's wrong. I mean, I'm just saying, don't think that your taxes are going to be $11,000 for a 5,000 square foot house when a house up the block is paying $14,000 and they're 1,800 square feet. Common sense is going to tell you, something's going to change here. Something's going to change.
All right, you have to raise your hand and be recognized to be called. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I agree.
So you have
A couple of comments, and I very much...
Address, please. Address.
160 Logan Terrace. I very much appreciate what the lady said, and I'm really kind of... I think there's one thing I learned tonight, though, that I would pose to the council, not you, sir, is, are you guys happy with the second, if this is true, the second highest tax rate in Bergen County? Because that's what we're talking about.
Let's not equalize.
Not when I bought on 08.
On 08, it wasn't the second.
Yeah, let Mr. Lozier make, did you make your comment?
Yeah, but the other thing, I just want people to know, I wouldn't sleep well at night if folks thought this. I live in a 3,000 square foot house. So it's not 5,000. And to the councilman over here, I don't know how, because you were asking if 5,000, 29,000 was fair. I don't know what you think is fair for 3,000 is.
I don't know if what you pay is fair. I think everybody pays too much, okay?
Right.
My house is 1,300 square feet. I pay close to $12,000 a year, all right?
Insane.
It's high. I agree everyone is paying high taxes. Now, if there's a 5,000 square foot house, and it's 3 times the size of my house, but it's only paying twice the amount that I'm paying. Now, I don't know that that's fair, to be quite honest with you. It's a brand new house. My house was built in 1937, all right? On a windy day, the breeze goes right through my living room. I need all new windows. They're original. My furnace is older than I am, okay? And I'm paying $12,000 a year in taxes. So, so I don't know what they should be paying. I think it's all too high. All right. So am I happy that anybody's paying $29,000 a year? No. Am I happy that I'm paying almost $12,000 a year? No. Do I know that this is how it should be apportioned? I don't know, maybe. Maybe. If a house is worth $800,000 and mine is worth $370,000 and I'm not paying a third less than they are, well, it's not, there's not the exact ratio. But at the same time, if you're living in a brand new house that's worth X amount, why am I paying taxes to subsidize your construction? Let the market dictate is what ultimately will happen here. Maybe it's correct that a house of 5,000 square feet won't be built in River Edge, because the market will say, well, and this is what happens in Paramus. Paramus' taxes are lower, the houses are worth more. So we know that there's a finite amount that people can spend, so they factor that in. So what might happen? Well, maybe instead of a 5,000 square foot house, there's a 3,500 square foot house built. That may ultimately be what happens here for the time being. My hope is that 5 years down the road, we're not in this recessed housing market that we're in anymore, that we're in currently. That home values continue to rise. For myself, I see this reassessment. I think my house was assessed at something like $370. I paid $520 for it in 2007. I'm underwater on my mortgage. I'm not happy about it. I hope home values will rise again. So this assessment or reassessment may just be a temporary thing. As other home values continue to rise, the other houses will rise, and I suspect that the new construction will not rise at the same rate. So 5 years down the road, might you need another reassessment? You might, because what we found ourselves in was in a unique situation. People call this the Great Recession, and it's true. This is the Great Recession that we find ourselves in. So we had to take drastic steps to offset the tax appeals that we were getting, because we were getting an extreme amount. And what happens when, and Mr. Ansavino mentioned this before, when you file a tax appeal and you're successful, all right, or anybody files a tax appeal and is successful, everybody else their tax rate has to rise to offset that, because the borough still has to operate. It still has to operate. And that's what we found ourselves in. And listen, it would be naive of me to think that when you reassess an entire town, there's not going to be mistakes. Human beings do the reassessment, human beings make mistakes, and they need to be corrected and adjusted. And, hopefully they will be. But, I've spoken to some realtors. I know we have a lot of realtors here who aren't happy. I understand that, but I've spoken to others who tell me that the numbers that we've got are what the market would bear. And so if the market will bear that amount, then I'm assuming that those numbers are correct.
And I've not argued that once in my 2 times over, but I've argued for me.
Yes, it's unfair that you got a number, you relied on that number, and that number changed.
You changed the rules in the middle of
Yes, I understand.
And in the Great Recession, my taxes have gone up from the day I purchased, which I didn't assume it was 10, because I called the town and they told me 12. It went up 20% the day I bought the home. 20%. It's now up 90.
I understand that that's not fair.
All right. There's someone back there that we haven't heard from yet.
My name is Jacinto Zuniga, from 246 Madison Avenue. I just want to note that I remember when the guy came into my house, it took maybe 2-3 minutes. I don't remember seeing any measurements, but I noticed that and the computer says that my home square footage is almost 2,600 square feet. But when I bought the house, in the original press office, it was only 2,500 square feet. So there's about almost 100 square feet discrepancy, which I don't know why. Now, another thing is that I called them, and they never returned my phone call. The lady took my name and number, and they never called me back. So I was pretty disappointed about that. And the last thing I want to say is that, the economy sucks for everybody right now. Nobody has right now the extra $2,000, $3,000 or $4,000 to pay now. I think this came in a really bad time. If it was a goal for the town to stop the appeals and, save some money that way, that's not going to work because, a lot of people are going to appeal. At least maybe the 400 houses are going to appeal. So I don't know how it's going to help. And the most important thing is just the record you set. River Edge is a beautiful town, and I don't think builders are going to be incentive to build any more houses here. I don't think it's the future of this town to keep going in mid-sized homes. If the economy gets better, people start, working more and opening new business, and people want to, human nature, want to have a better home. You want to enjoy, I don't think we can go back to the 60s and 70s when you have 4 kids and a 2-bedroom. Nobody wants that. So,
Can we get your name and address for the record, please?
Jacinto Zuniga, 246 Madison Avenue.
Thank you. Anybody who hasn't spoke yet? Because we do have to go back into... We have 2 legal issues. We have 2 legal issues. We have to discuss some litigation. You've given everybody opportunity to make a comment. Sir, you had an extended...
Just be very brief.
Yeah, in a very extended time. If you want to be very brief, I'll give you a minute. Go ahead.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. We got into some...
Just state your name and address for the record again.
182 Oak Avenue. I think, I'm also new here. I've been in town for 2.5 years at this point. And the reason why I moved here was, the schools, the neighborhood. I was not aware of the whole McMansion concept versus smaller homes, and which seems to kind of fly around this room a lot. But I think when it goes back to why people move here, let's say it's for the schools, for the nice neighborhoods, there is a basic price for having that. And so when you assess homes very low, and I understand that that's the market value, those homes really don't support the school system. You live in a small house and you have 3 kids go to school, you're not paying enough taxes to really support that school system. And so what ends up happening is that the higher priced homes end up, subsidizing, however you want to look at it, but they subsidize your living in River Edge. And that's my only point. And that's why this reassessment is really unfair.
All right, thank you.
Ed. How many people came in to speak with the assessment commission?
No more than 150.
So, to me, what a prudent thing to be would be to see how that all pans out. Now, if 150 people come in and 150 people get reductions, I think then we might have a QA issue with the overall assessment.
You're not going to find that. You might find minimal reductions because of bathrooms and everything. I just want to touch on two
Well,
things.
to follow up, do you know if this company did any kind of QA/QC review of the data to take into account that, I think that, Mr. Caridi said, where there was a house vastly, disvalued between...
Yeah, but we didn't say it was $11,000.
That's not, no, I'm saying, looking at the assessments, what they were and versus what they are now, and if they're the same kind of house, but now the assessments are still disproportionate, has that been...
Then we got a problem. No, I think what happened, and if I understood Mr. Caridi, was there was a new house going up sometime last year. So the Realtor put on the thing, taxes $11,000. Absolutely impossible. They didn't have the foresight to determine what it was. Nobody knew what the taxes were till a week and a half ago. So I don't know where the Realtors came up with that, but that's a problem. The second thing is about the highest tax rate. You read off a list about 15 towns. There's another company that's doing about 5 or 6 towns. Now, our tax rate for 2012 has not officially been struck, nor has any of these other 20 towns. All the towns that are doing a reassessment, once you lower the assessed values, the market rate goes up. I'm sorry, excuse me. Once you lower the assessed value, the tax rate goes up. You're not going to have the highest tax rate in Bergen County. That's going to change. Now, the Realtors know that because they get the listings. So they can't use this because it's not the official rate. The official rates will not be published until probably July, May, right? So I think we got a good thing coming there. The other thing is, I'm going to go back to that example of that one house. The house was purchased in '08 for $760,000. The assessment was $540,000. Now remember, state standards, state's ratios, state's values. After you equalize that assessment, equalize means apply the ratio, bring it to fair market value. It comes to $625,000. The new assessment on that property is $628,200. So now you have a property that sold for $760,000. The assessment $628,000, big increase, but all along the market value was the same thing because you have to apply the ratio. They would probably run on a button. Unfortunately, there's going to be a tax increase.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a motion to close the meeting to the public. So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed, any abstained? All right. I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. We have, we're going to go into executive session to discuss litigation. Tax litigation. This is not a no curve.